Welcome to Blind Level Tech. I'm Jonathan Price.
I'm Evan Starnes.
And together, we're bringing you news, tech, and information about blind technologies.
Being blind doesn't mean you have to stop living.
We're going to show you just how possible it is to live the life you want. Evan, what is up, my brother? How you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pumped. Last episode was a blast. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to it. You guys are going to enjoy this episode just as much, if not even more so. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm doing fantastic.
Nice. Hey, how many programmers does it take to change a light bulb? None, because it's a hardware problem. Bazinga.
Yeah, that's it. That goes to show a lot of programmers don't really know hardware. They know software, but
no, they don't. So anyway, hey, we got St. Patrick's Day coming up next week. Got any plans?
Not get pinched. That's my plan.
So does that mean you're wearing green?
Yep, totally. Unfortunately, I have some green.
Unfortunately. Okay, Now, blind joke. Can you even figure out what the green is?
No, but it'll be a lucky guess.
All right. Well, maybe I'll just pinch you anyway. So yeah, St. Patrick's Day is on a Saturday. So I hope you guys are all safe out there. Don't get too wasted. Don't get too hammered, and be responsible out there. If you need to hire a Lyft or Uber or a friend, make sure you have your D&D. Yeah. So just want to make sure you guys understand that public service announcement. Evan, anything exciting happened to you this week? I had nothing going on. So please enlighten me.
I really didn't have too much going on at all. I mean, we had a birthday party happen, over the weekend, and that was pretty fun. And I just got to spend some time with my girlfriend. Yeah, you're going to hear her a lot.
Nice.
You're going to hear her mentioned a lot. And I'm really working actually towards trying to get both an amateur radio operator's license, so I can work with ham radios, but I'm also trying to learn Logic, the good old $200, totally worth it in my opinion, music production program.
Yep.
And it's just been a lot of me, hopping downstairs and sitting in front of the keyboard and just kind of noodling and just seeing what works, what sticks, what certain effects do to a track, how to actually chain effects to affect other effects. It's called bussing, actually. It's really cool. And I just figured that out actually recently, and that's been huge for me because it means I can finally make delays. It is literally a life changer.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely life changer, especially when you're working with music and audio and all the stuff that we do on a daily basis. Learning that kind of tech is a lot of fun. So this week's show, we are going to start diving into basically getting started in tech and what that means for you as a blind person moving forward with, either you're in the process of losing your vision, which we are so sympathetic to that. We understand what you're going through.
That's what we're here for.
To be perfectly honest, Evan understands it a whole hell of a lot better than I do. I am sighted. This is the first episode you've listened to, I am sighted. And so I have the disability of being able to rely on my eyes. And a lot of times that really is a disabling feature because I am not nearly as aware of things around me as, say, Evan might. And it's just a very interesting and a different perspective that we both have. So I hope you guys can appreciate and understand where we're coming from in that. Evan has lost his vision and he's been blind since birth. And so we both bring a very interesting perspective in getting started with technology and understanding where to go, why you need to go there, how you need to get there. And so I'm going to open it up. Evan, what are some of the things that we need to be considerate of when getting started in tech? We have things like, DVR, Insight Skills, CBW. Where do you start when you're losing your vision? And where do you start with all of this insane technology?
I would definitely say, just like you mentioned, DVR, Insight Skills, and like CCB and all that, reach out if you haven't used tech, if you're not, if you're just like the average person and you know how to get by, but you don't know how to really take advantage of like the capabilities of your smartphone. Yeah, seriously, reach out to these organizations, give them a call and say, I need tech training, or if you're talking to CCB, they'll do way more than tech training, and they'll teach you how to live completely independently as a blind person. In fact, you'll have to do everything blindfolded, which I am a big fan of, because you have no bloody vision at all. It is perfect.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, shout out to anybody listening from CCB. Hi.
Yeah,
shout out to you guys.
Hey,
you guys are awesome. Thanks for helping me out.
We use a lot of acronyms like DVR, CPWD, CCB. What are those acronyms? What is DVR?
DVR stands for the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. So it's a government organization that basically helps disabled. It's whether you're blind, if you're in a wheelchair, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, they'll help you get started, and, they'll help you get a job or get an internship. They'll get you the necessary technology that you need to be successful at your job. And they also have some, if you're of a certain age, they have some fun little extra activities you can do sometimes in the summer. And I'm really encouraging them to do that more. They had what in the world was it called? It was, they're basically little training programs, and they had like the Bake Off where you got to make brownies and compare each other's brownies. They had the Amazing
was this in
Race.
Boulder?
But no, it was not in Boulder. It was in Denver, sadly.
Either way, Denver brownies, Boulder brownies, they're all baked.
Yum. I love brownies. Now you got me thinking about brownies.
What's the CPWD and CCB?
The CPWD is the Center for People with Disabilities. So it's kind of a similar organization to like DVR, but they'll help you get started with, a cane, or getting your, first accessible, getting your smartphone made accessible, or, how to use a screen reader on the computer, and how to use a computer with only your keyboard, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. We do also recommend a couple of different other places. Insight Skill Center. I know Ellie Carlson was over there for a little while. She has since, I think she's left, but I could be wrong about that. So Ellie, if you're listening and you're still there, I apologize. But if you're not, well done for you in your new journeys. Also, our favorite, and one of my favorite, is, YouTube University, where YouTube basically has everything that you've ever needed for, whatever. So if you're trying to, we believe that it's super important to be able to access information, because if you don't even have the desire to go look for information on what you need, you're not going to be successful. You're just not. And it's going to be critical for your future moving forward. Evan, tell us a little bit about the importance about accessing information.
Well, we live in obviously a very information-centered world. So if you can't access information just like everybody else, whether it be news, social media, you don't even have to, that's an option. Or, your work. I mean, any job, even if you're working at like a food service, uses technology, you're going to need to know how to use those technologies accessibly. And so it is vitally important to learn these things, like learn VoiceOver on the iPhone, learn TalkBack if you're an Android person, or learn JAWS or NVDA on the computer, or VoiceOver on the Mac. You have to learn these things. If you don't, the way technology is going, you're going to be kind of just left in the dust, and it's going to be sad. And hate to say it, but I love to say it, but I hate to say some people that don't want to hear it. Technology is the future. Yeah. And so, if you don't learn it,
well, and I think we're seeing,
it's going to be tough.
I think to that point, we're seeing that play out more and more, especially when you take into consideration things like postcards or like handwritten letters. Even to that point, most of that stuff has died off outside of the junk mail and the spam and whatever. But even to a greater degree, email has started to, it's still really popular, but when you look at companies like Slack and Microsoft Teams and more instant communication platforms, it's still good for, they're still being able to send, large files and attachments and different things that are more instantaneous, really. And you don't have to worry about, we still use email obviously a lot for everything that we do, but it's been interesting to see the transition from, paper and snail mail to email to now instant messaging and instant chat and very instant things, which, philosophically can be a scary thing. And we're turning to an instant society, and we have been for a while. And so that kind of makes me nervous, but being able to access information and technology and understanding how to do it is probably the most critical thing to your blind and vision loss journey, especially if you're first starting out and you may be 50, 60 years old, you may be 2-3 years old, and you may be a parent of a kid who's going through vision loss. And so we sympathize with that. And so we want to give you in this episode a couple of quick pointers and the best tech that you need as a beginner in this vision loss journey. And so we're going to talk about phones real quick. What's the first piece of tech you should be learning is your phone. And so iPhones, Androids, Google phones, we're really going to talk about just iPhones and Androids real quick. So Evan, what are the positives and negatives of having an iPhone?
The positives and negatives of having an iPhone are, well, the positives first are it's easy to figure out and it's accessible right out of the box as in when you get your iPhone, and this is with pretty much any Apple product, which is awesome. But when you get your iPhone, you can literally take it out of the box, hold the power button, turn it on. And if it's a newer iPhone 14 or later, it'll actually, it might, I don't know if it does this by default. It might make a little chime. And when the phone's ready, you just click that power button 3 times and you get speech immediately. And it'll tell you, to go home, do this swipe. And then the entire setup of the phone from start to finish is completely 100% accessible.
Yeah.
So, and then once you get into the phone, I mean, it's just as simple as, the home screen itself is really just easy to get around. It's just a matter of swiping or dragging your finger around, and it's just a few pages of apps. And then, if you want to get more advanced, you can put your apps in folders, and they have this thing like on Android called the app library where you can display all your apps alphabetically. But that's kind of the nice thing about it is it's easy.
Yep.
And it's a very capable device. And the big thing, too, that I really want to emphasize is a lot of accessibility-centered apps, such as things like Microsoft Seeing AI, which we will talk about in the future, are only specifically available on the iPhone. Really? And yes. Now, there are competitors that are just as good, if not better, in some cases, that are available on Android. Okay. But the majority of stuff, when it comes out, if it's an accessibility app, it's going to be most likely 95% of the time on iOS first.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
And the thing about iOS is that VoiceOver, the screen reader, works really well with these apps. In fact, they have these just interfaces that allow you to use the app without turning off VoiceOver, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, they're designed with iOS in mind. So, you have that accessibility built in and you're good to go.
And the nice thing about the iPhone is with and iOS is that there's only the iPhone. So you can really make apps designed to take advantage of the hardware of the iPhone. Yep. And even VoiceOver now comes with a built-in feature if you have an iPhone 12. If you have an iPhone 12 Pro or later, you can use the Finder. I think that's what not the Finder. It's like a detection feature, and you can scan your room. You can search for people, doors, and it'll even read signs on doors like emergency exit or room numbers. It's just built in out of the box. Yeah, you fire it up. With a gesture.
Well, and one of the things that I love about the iPhone, and I can't speak to Android on this. You know Android way better than I do. I don't care to even touch an Android phone or a Microsoft product, but that's just me. That's an opinion. I really enjoy that, at least in Colorado, and there are some other states that do this as well, but for Colorado, a lot of our IDs and licenses and different things like that can be put into the Apple Wallet. And it's just a single click away. You don't have to worry about losing your physical wallet when you have everything, right on your phone. So I really appreciate that specific aspect. But yeah.
I do too. And I can have my cards on the wallet.
Oh yeah, no, I agree 100%. What are some of the negatives about iPhones or iOS and Apple products?
Some of the negatives really have to do with when it comes to just advanced stuff. So when it comes to, if you have, files on your phone and let's just say you want to put a bunch of music on your phone, or you made a custom ringtone and you would like to transfer it from your computer to your phone. It's a lot more of a pain because you have to use stuff like iTunes or the music program on the Mac now. And it's not as easy as it would be with Android, where with an Android, you just plug it in, you say, I want to allow this computer to access this device's storage, and then boom, you have access to all of the files, whether it be your pictures, your movies, your videos, your music, all of it, you have complete access to on the computer and the phone. Now, the iPhone did add finally a file management called Files, and you can do some limited file access. But that's one of the downsides. Another one might be price.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Because
so expensive.
The cheapest iPhone is the SE, and it's really not. If you want a phone that's going to last you a while and you're going to get good battery life with, don't get an SE because you're going to have to. It's a tiny little battery. It's a cute little phone. It still has the classic design with the home button and Touch ID. The cheapest iPhone is the SE. It's about $399 or $400 to start out. And you're going to you'll enjoy it as far as you'll have an iPhone. But yeah, you're going to get tired of having to charge the darn thing every day. And you don't really get any of the LiDAR capabilities or just any of the advanced functions you'd get from a more expensive iPhone. And the more expensive iPhones, such as the iPhone 14, they start at almost $800, and then they just go up from there.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the downsides.
One of the things that I've enjoyed, it's a plus and a minus at the same time for Apple products specifically, is that once you are in the Apple ecosystem, everything becomes so much easier. But getting into the Apple ecosystem is quite difficult and expensive. So like for me, everything I have is Apple products. So I have iPhone, iPad, MacBook Pro, and my desktop. I have an Apple Watch. And so the frustrating thing is that when I get a phone call, I have 12 devices that go off. And it's just I gotta shut them all up so I can talk to somebody. But I do enjoy that fact, and everything plays nicely together. So I do appreciate that fact. However, getting into that ecosystem takes a while, and can be expensive. However, I will say this, I have a 2009 cheese grater Mac that I have upgraded to the 9s, and it is still running almost 15 years later. And that's what I do all my editing on. That's what I do all my big work on. And so, Mac products, if you take care of them and you know what you're doing, you can run the maintenance and stuff on them. They will last you a very, very, very long time. Okay, we've wrapped up iPhones. Anything you want to say on iPhone real quick before we move on?
Well, really quick, the iPhone, it's the same with the iPhone as it is with the Mac. In fact, if you really are stubbornly insisting on not upgrading, they're still updating things like the iPhone 5S from 2013. They're still giving you security updates. I know, that's incredible. You're going to get years and years and years out of an iPhone. Yeah, that's nuts. Okay, cool. Now moving on to the, in my opinion, the lesser popular, just messing, man, dude. I'm not a huge fan of Android just because I like Mac. So you, the expert on Androids and all things tech, tell me about positives, negatives. Let's hit the positives. Or actually, no, let's flip this around. Let's do the negatives first of Androids. Go. So the negatives with Androids, or the more difficult thing is that with Android, you get hundreds of phones that run it from the Google Pixel phones. And I know you had mentioned Google phones earlier. Yeah, those are Android. And in my opinion, the best to start out with if you were looking to get into that. but you get like the Google Pixels phones, the Samsung Galaxy phones, the OnePlus phones, there's Huawei, Honor phones, like there's all of these brands. And the annoying part about that is depending on the brand that you go with, it kind of will affect how accessible the main operation of the phone is. In fact, like some companies, such as Samsung, they use their own home screen and it's called One UI, and it's accessible, but you might not like it as much as, the default home screen on the Google Pixel. Now, if you're feeling ballsy and you're advanced in the, and you know how to use an Android, you can of course switch that out. But then again, it still might mean that things like even the settings app or the camera app, for instance, for a while there, now fortunately they fixed this. If you got a Motorola phone, like a Motorola Droid, the camera app that it came with was inaccessible. You couldn't use it. You couldn't take pictures. You couldn't shoot videos. It was ridiculous. And to get around that, you'd have to install a third-party camera app. And that might not necessarily be as good because most camera apps that come with the phones are designed to take advantage of the hardware on the phone. And so, yeah, you really do run into a lot more, accessibility issues. And nowadays, Androids are usually accessible out of the box, as in you turn it on, you can hold the volume buttons down to fire up TalkBack's the screen reader. But that's not always the case. I have, especially if you buy some of the cheaper crap phones, like, your $100
Nokia,
Samsung or Nokia's actually are, shout out to them. They are actually pretty accessible out of the box, but sometimes you might get a phone. No. And TalkBack would not even be installed, and you'd have to have somebody sighted go, set it up for you, sign in with your Google account. Now don't let that dissuade you from an Android. If you want an Android, my big advice, the Samsung Galaxies or the Google Pixels are the best to go with because they are guaranteed accessible out of the box.
Yeah. Now, hear me. It's the operating system that I don't like. I enjoy like a Google Pixel or the, Samsung phones. They make some really good phones. It's just the operating system that I have a hard time with. So what are some of the more positive things? You just mentioned some of the great things to get into, or like, what do you say, the Google Pixel as the first phone to try to get. What are some more positives about the Android platform?
The positives about the Android platform in general are, if you are familiar with using like a PC and you know how to use a computer, it's going to be more like your phone. It's going to be more like using a mini pocket computer. Right. It's a lot more as far as like getting files on and off the phone, downloading programs or applications. I
will say, they do have a better file system than Mac, bar none. Absolutely.
Big time. And even things is like you can actually install like little emulators. And if you're like me and you're feeling nostalgic, you can play like Game Boy Advance games on your phone if it's an Android.
Absolutely.
So stuff like that. So if you're more of a geek and you are more comfortable on the computer and you really do like that flexibility of being able to. Right. The thing with Android too that I'd like to say is flexibility. So let's say you don't enjoy the TalkBack screen reader. There are some other alternatives out there on the Google Play Store that you can just install and immediately turn them on and replace TalkBack with. And that also comes with text-to-speech. On the iPhone, you get loads of text-to-speech voices from Apple and a company called Nuance. And now you also get the Eloquent text-to-speech, which is like it sounds kind of robotic, but it's been around for years, and a lot of blind people are familiar with it and love it. And if you use JAWS for Windows, it's the default. With Android, with Android, you can install more text-to-speech voices from the Play Store. Unfortunately, there's a paywall behind some of these, which kind of stinks.
They got to get that money. Get that money. So you could have you could in theory have James Earl Jones telling you what's on your phone.
Yeah, if they made a text-to-speech out of him, and if it worked with the text-to-speech interface API on Android, you could have a James Earl Jones voice.
One of the funniest moments of my life was when I was driving with my wife, and we were driving and we were talking about GPS voiceovers and how funny it would be to have like Owen Wilson or Chris Rock or, you know, like any of those like funny comedians telling you what to do and to turn around in their character would just be so freaking hilarious. And I think was it Android or Google or somebody actually put that out.
Waze, actually. It was the Waze app.
Yeah. Yep. So
they had a Santa voice. They had a Darth Vader, a Yoda. It was cool.
That would be so funny. Oh my goodness. Okay. So any more positives or negatives for both the iPhone or Android as we start to wrap this up?
Not really. Honestly, I feel like I've touched a lot of just the basics as far as getting into those devices.
Okay.
And so really, what I really just want to emphasize is if you're techie and you like computers, maybe get an Android.
Sure.
And if you have a Mac, get an iPhone. And if you've never used a smartphone accessibly, get an iPhone. Yeah,
absolutely. And make sure that you guys reach out to places like DVR, CPWD, CCB, any of those places, YouTube. Insight Skills, like any of those places, or reach out to us. We'd love to help you out and try to get you set up on some of those. And we'll have some tech demos coming up in the next couple of weeks. For me, I want you guys to make sure that, Evan, I did want to ask you one last thing. You said the Google Pixel was the best phone for Android to start out with?
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Now other people have different opinions.
Sure.
Yes.
And that's fine. What is the price point for those phones?
They have different price points. So you could get the Google Pixel. The latest one out there now is, I think, the 7 or the 8. I think it's the 7. You can get the 7A, which is like the cheaper version. It's still a good phone. In fact, they don't really cut corners on those.
Right.
And that, I think, is around like $400.
Okay.
And
nice.
then the Google Pixel 7 Pro, that's not even $1,000. It's like $800. Yeah. So
good.
So they're a little bit more competitive price wise.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Well, Evan, thank you for joining me this week. If you guys remember, this is Blind Level Tech. We have several other shows. We have After Sight, we have Blind Sight, we have Topic of the Month, which will probably be renamed coming up shortly. So be on the lookout for that. We'll keep you up to date with information. We do have 2 big announcements coming up, 2 events coming up on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. We have a special fundraising event, Music in the Dark, and we have one of our just amazing guests who is on After Sight. Her name is Diane Deeds Shore. So Deeds, if you're listening to this, we are so excited to have you coming out to PBS and to play some of your amazing music. She is a 2-time Grammy winner. She's played with people like B.B. King, Maynard Ferguson, Bobby McFerrin, the Count Basie band. Wow. And she has played with with some absolutely bonkers people. So, we get to have her out, and I'm super excited for that. And then we have coming up, I don't know if we know the exact dates yet, but we are going to be doing our, Audio Trekkers hike. And Evan, do you remember where we're going for this hike? I want to say Breckenridge, but I don't think that's right.
I don't either. I thought it was Copper Mountain, but it really depends. That's right.
No, you're right. Copper Mountain. It does depend on some other factors, but yes, Copper Mountain. Thank you. And so we'll be doing that. The date is to be announced, and we had just an amazing time last year up in Estes Park with no barriers. And we had, what was it? How many did we have? 70, I think, total hikers. 30 of them were blind.
Just about 70 total blind hiker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're looking to blow that out of the water.
It was a really good turnout.
If you want more information about that, please visit aincolorado.org for all those informations and shows and other things to get you hooked up with local Colorado information, and then our podcast for national spotlights and guests. And so if you would like to submit a question for me and Evan, you can email me at Jonathan, Jonathan, at aincolorado.org, or Evan, EVAN, at aincolorado.org. And if you just have a generic question about tech, tips, and anything like that, visit us at aincolorado.org/podcast-guest So if you have any questions, go to that website. Again, leave us a review, comment. We really want to make this show possible and accessible for everybody throughout the entire world. So if you know somebody who needs tech advice, who needs to just learn how to plug something in, we can help him out. So just send them the show and we'll take care of it. So, all right. Anything from you, Evan, closing thoughts?
Well, no, I think this was a good show and I definitely enjoyed it. And like I said, the iPhone isn't scary. Android phones are not scary. Get into them and don't get left behind just because you don't know how to use your phone.
That's right. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Have a fantastic week.